brutal air combat rages in the skies of war-torn Europe. Piloting wood and canvas biplanes, these first dogfighters duel to the death in dizzying acrobatic combat. In the midst of the fight, Germany's ace of aces screams into combat, piloting his red Fokker triplane. The Red Baron, known for downing 80 planes, makes history time and again. Now, you're in the cockpit as the famous ace climbs his way to victory. Experience the battle, dissect the tactics, relive the dogfights of the Red Baron. September 1915. 5 kilometers behind the front, a lone 2-seater reconnaissance aircraft makes its way through the skies. In command of the aircraft, Paul von Osterott maintains his heading, constantly alert to the aircraft's every shake and shudder. Acting observer and rear gunner is none other than Manfred von Richthofen. The young 23-year-old observer is on a collision course with history.
The battle in the Champagne region broke out, and we flew to this front in order to play a greater part with our large battle planes. I would have only been too glad to have a fight in the air.
Paul calls out a target below. It's a 2-seater reconnaissance aircraft, flying just a few hundred feet below them. Manfred is about to get his first taste of aerial warfare. Paul pitches the nose of the aircraft down and begins the attack run.
We calmly approached him, and for the first time, I saw an opponent in the air with reasonable distance. Paul skillfully flew so close that I could easily bring him under fire.
Manfred wields his guns and opens fire on the British. Rounds slam into the plane, causing severe damage. To maintain the advantage, Paul banks to the left, allowing Manfred a clear view of his target. He fires again. In desperation, the enemy observer mans his gun and fires poorly at the Germans. It's no use.
I shot my cartridge case of 100 rounds. And then I could not believe my eyes. Suddenly, the enemy airplane went down.
It's a stunning achievement, and counts as Manfred's first kill. But due to the aircraft falling on enemy lines, Manfred went uncredited for the kill.
I was very proud of my success. I would have more on my victory list today had it counted. The main thing is that a fellow was brought down, not that the one is credited for doing it.
Richthofen's journey to ace began with an expected rough start. On his first solo flight, he struggled to keep control of the aircraft. Onlookers watched from below, exchanging insulting remarks to his flying. After landing nose first and failing his flight exam, it was clear more training was needed. A flight in the Fokker E-3 fighter had also ended in disaster. Suffering an engine failure on takeoff, it appeared the world was against him.
From the beginning of my career as a pilot, I only had one ambition, and that was to fly a single-seat fighter. I am entertaining the idea of going to Bolka to become a student of his. I always need a change. That would be something new again, and not to my detriment either.
With more flying experience under his belt, and meeting with the famous ace, Oswald Bolka, Manfred was transferred to his squadron, and granted the latest German fighter, the Albatros D2. and it was at the controls of this very aircraft Manfred would claim his first credited kill. September 17th, 1916. 5 Albatros D2s of Bolka Squadron make their way to the front over Cambria. Led by the legendary ace Oswald Bolka, the Albatros fighters keep their tight formation and remain alert to any enemy aircraft.
An enemy squadron was right over our lines. Bolka was the first to see them, for he saw more than most. We approached the enemy slowly. We were only seconds away from the beginning of a fight.
The sky erupts in a chaos of swirling airplanes. The stakes are higher than ever. These enemy planes must be brought down at all costs. Manfred spots an FE-2 just off his nose. He pitches down and latches on to his target.
My Englishmen twisted and turned, crossing my line of fire. There was only the growing thought: he must fall, come what may.
Manfred fires volley after volley, peppering the FE-2 with machine gun rounds. With careful stick and throttle, he manages to stay on the enemy's 6. Manfred is destined for glory or death.
I was so close I was afraid I would ram him. Then suddenly, his propeller turned no more. The engine was probably shot to pieces.
The FE-2 plummets to the ground as the wounded pilot struggles to keep control. Manfred watches from above, adrenaline still coursing through his veins. To his excitement, the plane collides with the ground in friendly territory. It's a confirmed kill.
I was so excited that I could not resist coming down, and I landed with such eagerness on this strange field that I almost went over on my nose. I found my assumption was correct. The engine was shot to pieces, and both crewmen were severely wounded. When I came home, Bolka was wondering where I had been so long. I proudly reported for the first time, 1 Englishman shot down.
From September to November 1916, Manfred went on to down another 10 aircraft, earning him more than required to make ace. But it was his legendary battle with Major Leno Hawker on November 23rd that Manfred began to make a name for himself. Like knights of the air, the duel begins. Both Hawker and Manfred chasing each other's tail, hoping for a clear shot.
So it went, both of us flying like madmen in a circle, with engines running full. First left, then right, each intent on getting above and behind the other. I was soon actively aware I was not dealing with a beginner.
From 9,000 feet to merely a couple hundred, the 2 aces continued to fight, ignoring the physical exhaustion of combat.
Gradually, this got to be too much for the brave sportsman, and he finally had to decide whether to land on our sides or fly back to his own lines. Naturally, he attempted the latter. In so doing, my first bullets flew by his ears, for prior to that I had not fired a shot.
Hawker violently bobs and weaves to avoid the incoming hailstorm of bullets. Locked onto his tail, Manfred closes the gap. At the end of the day, only 1 aircraft will be returning home.
About 50 meters behind our lines, he plunged down with a shot through the head. His machine gun was pulled out of the ground and now graces the entrance over the door to my house.
Victorious once again, Manfred appears nearly unstoppable. By January 1917, he would bring his total number of kills to 16. This number would again be increased to 31 by March, after more flights in the Albatros and Halberstadt fighters. Not long after acquiring the D3 variant of the Albatros, Manfred's most feared and famous name would strike fear into the hearts of even the most courageous pilots. The Red Baron. First to the scene, he is a lethal machine. It's bloody April, and the tide is turning. The British Army begins the offensive at Arras, planned in conjunction with the French High Command. Under Richthofen's leadership, Jasta 11 drones in like angry hornets. The Red Baron is flying too fast, and he's flying too high for the British to get a shot on him. The enemy aircraft are torn apart, losing 245 planes.
One day I got the idea to paint my crate glaring red. After that, absolutely everyone knew my red bird.
Sopwith Strutters, triplanes, Spads and Nieuports are but a few of the many aircraft types brought down by Manfred alone. By the end of April, his kill count had reached 52. Incredibly, 4 of which he had downed in a single day. He had become the ace of aces. By the summer, Manfred had acquired the final variant of the Albatros, the D5. His reddened wings left him high above the enemy, only to swoop in for a diving attack.
Fight on and fly on to the last drop of blood and the last drop of fuel, to the last beat of the heart.
Utilizing the 8 basic rules of aerial warfare written in the Dicta-Bolka, the Red Baron was able to claim his victories. Rule 1. Try to secure advantages before attacking. If possible, keep the sun behind you. Rule 2. Always carry through an attack when you have started it. Rule 3. Fire only at close range, and only when your opponent is properly in your sights. Rule 4. Always keep your eye on your opponent. Rule 5. In any form of attack, it is essential to assail your enemy from behind. Rule 6. If you're attacked, do not try to evade his onslaught, but fly to meet it. Rule 7. When over the enemy's lines, never forget your own line of retreat. Rule 8. Always attack on principle, in groups of 4 or 6. When the fight breaks up into a series of single combats, take care that several do not go for the same opponent. Richthofen led his new unit to unparalleled success, but despite his skill and intellect, the tides of war can change within seconds. Even the greatest of pilots can find themselves at the mercy of fate. July 6, 1917. A formation of FE2s are in the Baron's crosshairs. His powerful Albatros will have no trouble catching up to the lumbering two-seaters.
We slowly followed our swift enemy towards the front. After a while, I had the rearmost machine close enough in front of me to consider all the possible ways of attacking him.
The enemy observer calls out the bandits, as the pilot maneuvers the plane to meet Richthofen head-on.
I watched as the enemy observer, obviously excited, shot at me.
Manfred flicks the safety off his guns and prepares for the dogfight. Having downed many FE2s in his career, he is confident nothing will stop him from achieving his 60th kill.
He turned on me completely, and I hope to get behind him in the next turn to burn his hide.
Manfred takes aim, but then suddenly, disaster!
I was received a blow to my head. I was hit! For a moment, my whole body was completely paralyzed. My hands dropped to the side, and my legs dangled in the fuselage. I was blinded.
The Albatros begins to spin and tumble. All control has been lost.
For a moment, it flashed through my mind that this is the way it looks just before death.
The Albatros continues to spiral earthward. He must find a way to control his aircraft or die.
The seconds were an eternity to me. I could suddenly distinguish black and white spots before me. My eyesight came back more and more.
Miraculously, Manfred is able to recover his aircraft and end the deathly spiral. His vision returning, he musters the strength to land his aircraft in open field.
Some people arrived immediately. They had observed the whole incident and knew from the red machine who I was.
Manfred was sent on a convalescent leave to recover from his head wound. Against the recommendations of his superiors, he returned to the skies, stating that every poor fellow in the trenches must do his duty, and he would therefore continue to fly in combat. March 1918. The Red Baron appears on the scene in a brand new aircraft, one most famously known as the Fokker triplane. Compared with the Albatros fighters, the triplane offered exceptional maneuverability. Manfred uses the plane's superior turning ability to get behind his enemy and rake them with lead. By the 28th of March, his kill total had reached a sensational 74. But Manfred's view of the war had changed drastically.
I am in wretched spirits after every aerial combat, but that no doubt is an after effect of my head wound. When I set foot on the ground again at my airfield after every flight, I go to my quarters and I do not want to see anyone or hear anything. I think of this war as it really is. Not as the people at home imagine, with a hurrah and a roar. It is very serious, very grim.
Despite his outlook on the war, Manfred led the way in an attempt for air superiority. Over time, he became less tactical and more aggressive. On April 20th, he downs a Sopwith Camel. No more than 3 minutes pass before another Camel is sent to the ground. The Red Baron has just achieved his 79th and 80th victory. On the 21st, Yasta 11 is sent out on interception orders. Among the squadron is Wilfram von Richthofen, Manfred's younger cousin. Yasta 5 joins the formation and heads for the front. Flying patrol over the Somme, 209 Squadron circles the area, commanded by Captain Roy Brown. Flying in close formation is Brown's old school friend and novice pilot, Wilfred May. It's at this moment Brown spots a formation of German aircraft. The squadrons clash, and a dogfight begins. Planes fall from the sky in the deadly dance of death. Wilfred May spots a lone triplane on the outskirts of the fight. Piloted by Manfred's cousin, Wilfram is unaware of the Sopwith approaching from behind. The inexperienced May presses the trigger and doesn't let go. The rapid firing causes both his guns to jam. Manfred spots his cousin in danger and begins to attack. In a panic, May dives to the ground in an effort to shake the pursuing triplane. May follows the Somme River west to his lines, the Baron in hot pursuit. With a strong easterly wind, Richthofen is pushed further over enemy lines. Under constant ground fire, Manfred seems unaware of the danger closing in. Brown spots the chase below and dives to assist. In desperation, May does all he can to avoid the Baron's rattling machine guns. Roy Brown takes aim and fires. The triplane enters a climbing turn as Cedric Popkin of the Australian Machine Gun Company also fires at the plane. In an instant, Richthofen receives a single, fatal bullet wound to the chest. His Fokker noses over as the throttle is reduced. Still under control, the red triplane lands for the last time. Moments after bringing the aircraft to a stop, Manfred von Richthofen is dead. Controversy continues to surround the identity of the person who fired the shot that killed Richthofen. But why would he have flown so low over enemy territory, breaking one of his own rules in the process? Richthofen's behavior after his injury was noted as consistent with brain-injured patients, and such an injury could account for his perceived lack of judgment on his final flight, suffering target fixation. His accomplishments in the First World War are beyond extraordinary. No other fighter pilot of that time had reached Manfred's total of 80 kills. The dogfight remains one of history's most dangerous elements of war, one of which that has claimed the lives of many. From rookies to aces, a single second could mean life or death. Manfred knew the risks, yet continued to fly, setting more than just an example, but forging history with the wings and propeller of his aircraft, allowing his name to live on. The Red Baron.